Merit isn't required. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article discussing my former alumni, my former university, Queensland University of Technology, and how they're no longer considering merit with regards to jobs. Awesome. Yeah, really love that that's where my university is going. I mean, what's going on in the world, guys? Is it really just getting this ludicrous, utterly ludicrous, these policies that they're putting forward? We're no longer in a merit-based society. So what happens to the hard-working person who wants to better themselves? Well, if you don't have the right gender, sexual orientation, skin color, or ethnicity, well, you're going to be penalized. It seems we're regressing as a society. We really are regressing. These leftists have just dragged the world back further. It's quite sad. It really is. So let's have a look. Queensland University of Technology's Vice-Chancellor has defended the decision to remove all references to merit from its hiring policy. I mean, okay. Staff were told about the move via an internal email which informed them that they would be moving away from the merit principle and towards a more suitable assessment. A more inclusive, suitable assessment. So there you go. Is that what we want? Vice-Chancellor Margaret Shield told ABC Radio Brisbane the suitability assessment would consider factors such as gender and ethnic backgrounds. Okay. Awesome. Professor Shields said it would also consider the current demographic breakdown of the various schools and disciplines. This is a joke, isn't it? I mean, so it's like this ESG bullshit, just jumping through hoops for the sake of it. So it'll be, we've seen this happen time and time again. Positive discrimination. It's just discrimination against certain groups you don't want to. Usually, well, white men, most of the time. She said women, for example, were underrepresented in science and engineering at QT, whereas men were underrepresented in teaching and nursing. She would have to understand. Here's the thing. They're pushing this narrative like it isn't just different choices in career fields that people pick, because there are a difference between the genders, between the sexes. Okay, men and women are biologically different. Our brains are different. The hormones that course through our veins and influence our body are different. And that's going to manifest in a whole series of different ways throughout our lives. And one of them is the choices we make in our career. I mean, I can see it in my children, in just the different computer games my kids like to play. Where my daughter loves The Sims. She loves The Sims 4. We got her to write an essay on the different ways that game developers make money on DLC. Here's the funny thing. DLC was the top of her list because that's her introduction to paying for games, because The Sims 4 is free and she's buying DLC. But it is literally, it's a digital dollhouse. The girl spends so much time dressing up the characters, picking the clothes, all these different outfits. Whereas my son, what type of games do you think he likes more? Right now it's Subnautica. He's into that again. It's, what's the other one? Oh, this tower defense dwarf. He likes that, and they all like Minecraft. But just in how the computer games they play, I'm seeing the differences in the gender roles. He doesn't want to play dress up with female character or characters at all. He wants to build things. And you know, this will impact decisions that people make. I've already got 2 daughters that want to work as therapists. So, yeah, I mean, that's why. That's why you're never going to have equality in the staff in these industries, because men and women choose differently. I mean, that's common knowledge. Or am I just an old-fashioned boomer for thinking that? Please let me know in the comments. She also dismissed suggestions the hiring process should be colorblind, saying that was impossible in practice. See, we were taught in the 80s not to give a shit about people's race. I feel like the next generation is very racist. You've got a whole generation that have the racism of low expectations. I mean, that's all the yes voters, wasn't it? It's disgusting. It's become so mainstream. When people say things like, we do this on merit, they're actually reflecting the bias of their own experience, Professor Shield said. Okay. There's so much data on this around selection, whether it's recruitment into orchestras or into universities. There isn't a way of being colorblind that's not got some form of bias into it. Well, haven't we seen... Well, oh, I did a video on this forever ago, and I'm not going to be able to find it. There was an experiment where they removed all identifying characteristics from a bunch of resumes for senior positions in the Australian Public Service, put it all out to them, compared who they picked with identifying characteristics removed compared to when the identifying characteristics were there. And they found that the selection panel artificially were more in favor of picking Aboriginal women and minorities. And that disappeared once the identifying characteristics were removed from the resumes. So there's a way to do it. But it's just the world we're in now. I mean, racism and discrimination is allowed under certain guidelines. It just has to be considered an oppressed or a minority group. There's certain ways to get around it under the Discrimination Act. Now, you either have to allow all companies to discriminate and be as horrible as they want and let the market sort it out, or you need to start enforcing these things properly. She said, oh, shit. She said staff undertook unconscious bias training, and that the selection committees were chosen with diversity in mind. She said they would aim to hire a diversity of personalities, such as recruiting more outgoing scientists who are good at industry engagement. We don't want everybody to look the same. I'm embarrassed this is my uni. How's it getting to this point? We don't want everyone to look the same. No one ever looks the same. You get a whole bunch of mishmash of people at these universities. Maybe that's just what I'm used to in the architectural field. But, I mean, come on. This is pathetic. This is utterly pathetic that they're getting to this point. We don't want everyone to look the same. Come on. The people are going to be hired just based on these bullshit characteristics. That's going to give them a benefit. We need this slot filled in a checkbox. I mean, I encountered this when I was at QT. I was involved or hired to provide additional tutoring support for Indigenous students. And there's one guy I was helping out in a subject, and he kept failing it again and again and again. He just wasn't interested in it. And they were asking, well, how can we get him through? How can we do this? You know, how can you help him do it? And I go, well, I'm not doing the work for him. I'll tell him what to do and I'll guide him, but I'm not doing his work. Or how can we get him through? How can we get him through? I go, maybe he needs to look at a different career if he's failed the same subject 4 times. They didn't like me in there. I didn't get hired again. The guy did come to, we ran these extra curricular events, education sessions for students where we just teach extra skills for tenor. $10 and that went on the bar at the end of your party. He came to that. He enjoyed that. She denied the policy was a political decision, insisting it was a practical move to improve the university's talent pool. Would you want to be associated with the university that's doing this? I mean, in my naivete, I was shocked at how left-wing a lot of the lecturers were when I was a student. I thought that if you were highly educated, you would see all the fallacies and problems with that ideological movement and the historical precedent against it. Shows you how naive I was, doesn't it? Oh, I'm going, well, haven't you seen the historical precedent of the entire movement you're espousing, how it's failed and millions of people have died? They don't care about that. It's all politics in that organization too. We need to access the entire talent pool, and we don't want everyone to look the same, she said. That's got nothing to do with all of this. This merit will let you access the entire talent pool. If you want to get a variety of people, you advertise all over the world and pay to recruit them. Attract them to your university. We don't want everyone to look the same. Am I the only one that's kind of over this shit? We need the workforce to reflect the students coming through. We also know people looking at things differently when they come from different backgrounds. Yes, but how does that have anything to do with merit? Just if you want people from a diversity of backgrounds, make sure you hire the right people from there. You've got to be able to poach them. But I don't know if QUT has the chutzpah to do it. It doesn't have the same reputation as some of the other top 7, does it? I've been working in improving diversity in academic environments my entire career. It's got nothing to do with contemporary politics. Yeah, it does. Come on. One thing you could do, if you really wanted to improve the academic staff that you can attract, I'm talking about the academic staff, not the support staff, is reduce their workload. Okay, this is some advice. Reduce the workload on your education and research staff so that they don't have to jump through as much bullshit, as many hoops, as much rigmarole. Make it easier for them to do their job. So they're going to conferences and talking up how QUT has, I've got a support assistant. Oh, don't worry, we'll send that funding through. Nothing is taken by the university. It all goes direct to my research. Nothing's sliced off the top. Do this. Make it easier for your people to go and tell their friends at these events or their contemporaries. Then you'll get people coming. You'll get people knocking on your door. But I guess, that would probably shake up the non academic and research people, won't it? She said she was the first female professor of chemistry in Australia and has subsequently spent her life trying to get more women into science. Yeah, okay, you're old. Times have changed. You're not going to get more women into science. It's never going to be 50-50. 100%. Unless you remove people's freedom, you'll never have complete equality because people will choose what they want to do. And there's going to be more men that are going to be interested in science than women because we're different. I mean, that's common knowledge. That's well known. You look at the Nordic countries where they're full on equality at the gahoos or whatever. And, the gender differences are even more prominent because they can be. QUT claims the suitability assessment is based on the Queensland Public Service Commission's hiring strategy. ABC attempted to reach out to the QUT Liberal National Club and Young LNP for comment. Why did you reach out to them? Why didn't you reach out to the Left Club? I mean, back in my day, there were all these other quasi-political groups. They're trying to run their student union. I remember we were forced to join the union. Well, let's have a talk about this. I just think it's sad, honestly. And frankly, you've probably got someone from a generation where times were much more different to now. I'm seeing that in all these older people that are, much older than my generation, than a geriatric millennial, probably the boomer generation, the baby boomers, particularly the women. They've got all these misconceptions or preconceptions that the world is still as sexist as when they came up. And I get the feeling that a lot of us, in talking to Rachel and other women I know that have been quite successful in their career, that haven't encountered any of the ceilings that previous generations did. If anything, it's flipped now. There's a pink ceiling. I know that talking to engineering firms, they'll compete for female engineers to up their numbers, to get more diversity, and they're competing for each other. It's only once ever I've overheard a discussion about a bloke, a business owner not wanting to hire women. And I had another friend, business owner, he was frustrated because they all left to get pregnant. So what he did is, he approached, he was looking for all the women. And he shouldn't have asked this, but he asked them, you're going to have any more kids? Because I've had so many leave. And they said, no way, I've done with that. So they're not as crazy as Rachel or I. But I guess that's a different time when you can have sensible conversations. Imagine asking something like that these days. So, there you go. QT doesn't want everyone to look the same. It's sad, honestly. Because everyone didn't look the same. At least when I was there, there was a lot of diversity in all the staff that we had. You had different genders, different sexes, a whole bag of people, mix of people from all over the world. I don't think this is the right way to attract the talent they want to attract. I think they need to really improve the quality of life and the ability for their teaching and research staff to get their work done, get more stuff published, and to help them push their careers forward. If you want to get more women, you need to make it easier for them to have kids and work. Anyway, guys, what's your take on this? Do you think merit should no longer be required? As always, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.